Rural desolation. One would think in an empty world it wouldn't make a difference, but I can already see from the menu that it does. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Half-Life 2, Alone. Last time we explored the darkened and empty streets of City 17, finding it the familiar game as we remember it, but not quite. What struck me the most about it was how it wasn't just as simple as removing the NPCs and flipping the lights off. It actually felt like something else, something more core to the experience had been ripped out, and I couldn't qualify what that was. And I think the conclusion I came to by the end was that because I had played this before, it's like walking through a corruption of a memory, one that's been stored without any of the attachments. And in a way, it's almost like the whole world has moved on without us, like we're trapped in a memory. I imagine that'll be the same here as we go on to explore episodes 1 and 2. Now, it's been a really long time since I played either of these, so my memories of these are not quite as fresh as Half-Life 2 base game, so I'm kind of going to have that alternate perspective where I don't really recognize everything.
HEV damage sustained. Major fracture detected.
Many weeks later. Now, for those who didn't see or don't remember, when we finished our playthrough of Half-Life 2 in this, things progressed a little bit differently. There was no one to give us our objectives, no one to guide us along. And yet we still followed on roughly that same path. Now, not everything happened the same way. The city wasn't destroyed after we teleported back from Nova Prospect. But even still, we seemed guided to destroy the Citadel. Even though there were no Combine, no resistance, no nothing, it's like we had that instinct, or I guess just draw to go up there and do what we did. But now we're drawn forward once more. We can break these boards, drop the gate, and continue with those classic Half-Life 2 puzzles. We're really proud of this physics engine. The sun is rising, something we've yet to actually see in this game. Thank you very much. Something that's cool about this is that it works in the same way as the anniversary update for Half-Life 2, where it actually picks up in the episodes right where Half-Life 2 ends. Oh, we do not want to slip down here. Once more, we can't see our health, but it seems like we're in rough shape. Let's just get these rocks out of the way to reduce the chance of problems. We can see where all this just bisects the sewer tunnels. I'm so ready to come back to this. I mean, it takes a long time to record, and I could split it up like I do with some other things, but I really know that for something like this, where it's very commentary heavy and very reflective, I know it's all got to be done in one shot. Off you go. But that's also why it takes so much time. I mean, it's been months since I played the base game, and that's because I needed time where I would have like 5 hours or more to come back here. A time when I could really focus on this. Because that is, like, the purpose of a mod like this. You're supposed to just kind of calmly walk. It's like going for a walk at night, I think. Besides the fact that it depicts a literal walk at night, or I guess dawn now. It's the kind of thing where you can just walk through a familiar place and kind of let your memories come back to you and think about what they meant to you. Alright, it looks like we can probably walk across here. Doesn't feel very right. After all that, we're heading right back into the Citadel. Did I really just try to steal that thing on the way down? This is gonna suck. I'm pretty sure I just quick saved. Okay, F6 is quick save. Good thing I checked. Yep. Wow. You know what would suck even more than falling all the way down? Falling onto that little ledge right there. Look at this, all these tubes and hoses running down the wall. And all these pods. Wait, where am I going? I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. Oh, I can just hug this wall. Yeah, no, where am I going? Is there somewhere to drop down from here? Thing is, I'm pretty sure I remember something happening with Alex and Dog. They should have met with us. But because they're not here, sometimes things go differently. Okay, I guess we are dropping down. Nope. Nope, there's nothing good. We have gone and done screwed it. Oh. Oh, oh, we're... Huh. Well, I guess that worked out. Surprisingly. Okay, it won't work out if we fall down there. Oof. Look at this dark corridor. We can hear the rumble of whatever scientific nightmare we unleashed up above, and now it's like we're in the carcass of the great organism that once had its tendrils all throughout Earth. It's weird how Half-Life 2 was sort of post-apocalyptic, but there was an order in that post-apocalypse. And then both of the episodes are like another apocalypse compounding that. Like, I love that. Getting rid of the Combine wasn't all, you know, break out the beers. It had consequences. And they're felt all throughout. We need some constant quick saving when we're dealing with platforming of this nature. All these surfaces don't look like I'm supposed to platform on them. I'm wondering if maybe I was supposed to get on one of these things that would bring me down. But that scan point up ahead does not look like I would survive it. I could jump down to the balcony below. Now, this is going to be one of those things where there's going to be... I'm going to talk about like Half-Life 2 and its legacy a lot and how it's changed by this experience. But I'm also probably going to just kind of talk about stuff a lot, because there's going to be a decent amount of downtime. It'll be just like the previous one. Stuff like that, you always have to think about, like, okay, I need to jump and press forward at the exact same time. We can get ourselves some HEV, because things can damage us along the way. Now, in the base thing, there were weapons around besides the grav gun, and sometimes they were useful. I can't remember why. The creator did comment on why they decided to leave that stuff in. I think it may have been as simple as like it was too annoying to remove every instance in the game. None of this looks very good. Can't climb into here. In fact, I can't touch it at all. Let's run for it. I can't tell if that was hurting me. Come on. We're 2 for 2 on things that looked like they should kill me, but didn't. I do wonder if the whole idea for this mod wasn't born out of Half-Life 2's already fairly eerie ambiance. Those sci-fi hums. This might have actually damaged me a bit. Let's go. We did it. Question is, what do we do next? I can just hear that thunder rattling all throughout, and you just know, especially with that countdown that they showed before, that this is the least safe possible place for you to be. Okay, so that damaged us. Will this? No, it will not. The power of sliding, everybody. You just gotta convert that momentum. This all seemed so indestructible before. Even in Alone, like, the Citadel is just this thing that hangs over the entire game, always in the background, always looking so huge, this all-seeing eye. And so to see it like this, I don't know, maybe this Alone feeling was present even in Episode 1 for a while. But it's something I've only just thought about. Like, I don't know if I even really talked about it the first time around. How it's kind of like being driven by instinct. There's no one to give us these objectives. No story points or beats. It's just, you go forward because that's the way to go. Things are getting a little bit more kinetic now. Is that 41 hours and 50 minutes? Or 41 minutes and 50 seconds? Just worded weirdly. You know what? Actually, I think it said 51 before, so we should probably get a move on. It feels just as big as ever. Probably should have our flashlight on pretty much all the time, so this translates well to YouTube. That sounds like the machine gun from a gunship, or a strider. I see that sense of overwhelming scale has not left all of this. Man, I'm looking at this and I'm just amazed at how good this game still looks. I mean, granted, I'm playing it in 4K, but still, it just goes to show the value of good art direction and world design. Because the geometry and the textures, like, they're not special by modern standards. But it ages really, really well. This is what it's like to be a Little Nightmares kid, but as a full-on adult with lots of heavy hardware. We can blow these obstructions out of the way. At this rate, probably would have been easier just to climb over them. Nope, 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 nope. Get out, get out, get out! All that crazy Combine technology we've been seeing throughout the game, well, what happens when it starts malfunctioning? Worse yet, when it starts malfunctioning because of us. Where do we go from here? Oh, we can jump out and over. We're gonna have to platform this thing. It looks like some kind of tractor beam, like it'll pull us off. Okay, run, 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 run. My little personal challenge to myself there was to make it all the way over before it did that. This looks like some kind of control room, like there's an elevator there. That's a big, scary pit to fall into. In a place that's seemingly full of them. There's a lot of wasted space, but the Combine love their big, scary projects. Unfortunately, there's no one to contact at this point. Well, not that there ever was for us. Now, what's interesting is that when I started playing this, again, I assumed that it would simply be removing all the NPCs and making it dark and adding some ambient music. But it proved to be so much more than that, and I even noticed in the menu, which is quite extensive, there's an option to choose our ending. So there's endings to this. There may actually be a story reason why this is happening. Oh no. Are you taking my grav gun again? Oh, please turn it into the fizz gun. We're back, baby. If only there were more Combine to wreak havoc on with this. "37 minutes till core collapse." Yeah, it is definitely minutes. We can grab these things, which to my eye are looking a little bit different when we grab them now. Oops, wasn't quite a direct hit. You can grab them from quite far away. But it's kind of hard to aim. Really hard to aim. Well, look, that one's green. Maybe it already counts. There we go, that's why. Let's try and avoid these errant balls of energy flying around that can disintegrate us with a single touch. Look at how different this is. The whole thing in collapse. Fog in the sky, red with haze. What's weird is that this vibe almost feels appropriate immediately after the events of Half-Life 2. Can't go through there. So where can we go? Grab you from there. In. Oh, need a better angle. Oh, wait, I almost forgot. There is the alone mod options. I'm not going to change anything right now. I'm going to assume it's how I left it. I just want to see that it's... I thought we could... There's a way to open this up in-game, but I just wanted to have a look at it and refamiliarize myself real quick. Don't Draw HUD is something I enabled. We can disable footsteps for more ambiance, enable mirrored view, vignette, camera bob, sway view when standing still. It's a lot of things. It's got like full-on photography features. I'm going to assume that my settings before were good. Yeah, I definitely don't want to disable soundscapes, although maybe it was the earlier version I played at the beginning of the last video that made me think that like they were just kind of off by default. Become Day after Nova Prospect is not enabled, so presumably that only applies to the first game, and yeah, enable Citadel timer for episode 1 and core timer for episode 1. Alright, we'll leave things as they are. I messed with it in the first part. Oh, you're blocked by a shield. So how does one get rid of that? Oop. You'll go critical after a little while. Maybe we can kind of bounce it in? Ooh. That didn't go well. Nope, I don't want metal. That might be a tall order. Let's look around to see if there's something we can do to get that out of the way. Oh, or we can just come around. To an extent. Nope, 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 nope. I almost fell. Yeah, no, here's where we do it from. There we go. Very nearly died doing that. I feel very tempted to run across because this does not look the least bit safe. Yeah, this is cool. All I have is the speculation, because I played through the base game many times before. Episode 1, it's been a very long time. So I can sort of guess about the things that would have been different, while understanding that the layout is going to be basically the same. Sort of, because I know that it is willing to change things. And in some cases quite substantially. So, since I've just taken a second to get something to eat, I might as well talk to you guys about something that you asked about in the previous video, which is where every once in a while you would hear me just like... and clap. We appear to be being haunted, or I guess it fell from above. But anyway, you would hear me like periodically clap, and 10 times in a row. And the reason I do that is because it looks very distinctive. It creates kind of a cloud in the video's like audio waveform, and it makes it easy for me to identify at a glance from a zoomed out view and know to cut that out. And in some cases I just didn't catch it or didn't bother. And it basically just makes it so that like I don't have to edit nearly as much, where normally what I would do is stop and just kind of like watch through an entire thing. With something that's like 5 hours long, there's no way. I got a schedule. Speaking of schedule, 32.5 minutes, whatever. We gotta get moving. They come up at these particular times. I have no idea if they're actually real or not. I'm assuming they're not. We are not safe from debris on this pad. Let's grab you. And send you away. And in doing so, send me away. That was faster than expected. And this thing does not seem to be behaving reliably. Might have to bounce this guy. Nope. Well, I can pull that stuff out of the way. That almost pushed me right off when I brought it in. Even when it's brought like that, it's got some momentum behind it. There we go. Good thing that place was angled like that. Very strange fuse system the Combine have got going, though. Well, that's simply no good. Was I supposed to do something about that? Is there some place I can jump off? I can fire that over there, I'm dead. But we're moving again. But this time it didn't break? What is going on? Okay, will it break if we're on the metal? Come on. What am I supposed to do? There's the thing. Hit it from there. Oh, come on. What? I don't understand what it wants. Is there some place? Do I just jump straight to it? Okay, we're moving again. Just faster now. And this time it just didn't drop. I guess we just had like a split second to do it? Here we are. Yep, we're getting off this thing. Goodbye. Oop. Well, it's gone now. Good thing the doors are still working, but this is a really bright hallway. Could almost give the impression that things are still working correctly. An airlock? Is that soundtrack part of the mod, or is it actually in the game? I'm assuming the former. This whole thing just kind of comes to feel like a dying dream, doesn't it? There's that core. Oh, maybe we can do something to stabilize it, give us some more time. I actually want to talk about the dying dream thing some more because that's what all this feels like. It feels like a dream you have where everything feels familiar, like very familiar, like a core part of your life. But you just can't place what exactly anything is. The kind of thing where you feel like you've lived a lifetime and wake up disoriented. We can fire towards you. Oh, this feels so dangerous and unreliable. I do not like these light bridges whatsoever. Button. That just kind of shifts all you guys to the center. All this technology in here, it's really weird that there's a ladder. Like something so simplistic that its mere presence is baffling, and somehow makes it the most notable part of this room. Oh, we've got to bring something from outside. Okay. Let's go. There we go. Seven minutes and 30 seconds till core collapse. What happened to the 23 minutes I just had more than that? Okay. I guess maybe that reduces it. Crap, what is this? We don't really have time to deal with it, I know that much. Alright, pull you off. It's a good thing one of these things was on the floor out there. I probably wouldn't even recognize it. 5 minutes! What?! What?! Excuse me, get out of my way. Get out of my way! Probably took a ton of damage from that. That was not 2.5 minutes. Wait, that actually seems like the opposite of what I want to do. Oh, you are eating through that platform. Could I juke around? That didn't really look like what I was supposed to do, but it was. What is happening with this time? 2. Oh my god, and that means there's probably another one. These things always travel in 3s. Is it even a good idea to save now? I'm like, yeah. It's kind of weird to actually have kind of a mission right now. Oh, let me guess, we have to get over there. I don't really have time to wait around. Yep. That's a quick save moment. Great. Great, we gotta deal with another one of these things. Or not? No, you're different. Okay, that's good. It's good that you're different. Never mind. You know, never mind. Why did I think there could be good things? You really just have to jump over you, huh? It looks like the top ones aren't functioning. Yep. Get out. Imagine if there were Combine in here. Oh, wait. You here. Get in. Citadel core neutralized. Oh, it doesn't wait for the animation to finish. Well, I guess that's convenient. There you go. Shrink down, little egg. Get back in your egg of eggs. I don't know what I'm talking about. But this wraps right back around to the control room. If only we could have started from that point. Does this game think I'm really not going to notice that it just subtracted 20 minutes? Oh, wow. We must have gotten really damaged from getting hit by those energy balls. So, are we just heading back this way? No, I guess not. I think there was more back in the other direction. Or was there? Did we come down this way? No. It's weird how confusing all this is when you don't have characters constantly shouting instruction. It's making me realize how much of Half-Life 2 is just make the thing do the thing, even if you have no concept of what the thing is. Great, now all I'm thinking about is what a great movie The Thing is. Seriously, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and it only gets better every time I watch it. "50 minutes till Citadel explosion." So we spent an hour buying ourselves an hour. I guess it won't destroy the world, though. At least we still have our health. Let's hope the trains are running on time. Looks like we're gonna have to run it ourselves. The lights passing over, feeling that rumble. Half-Life was always about the experience. It does not feel like we made it very far at all. And this is one of my vaguest memories, actually. I think Alex was actually on this train with us in the game. Here, she would actually get attacked by a stalker in the dark. Oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I am stuck in a crouched position with no way out. I can come up to here, but I can't jump. There we go. Yep. Oh no, 48 minutes till Citadel explosion. It's still counting down. We're still on a timer. I wonder if this was Valve, like, experimenting with actual time limits. I can see them thinking that. I can see them giving you a fairly generous window that sort of cheats as you get closer to the conclusion. Because there are a lot of games, even to this day, that like hype up a sense of urgency in their story, and then they just sort of never really make you believe it, you know? I do agree, it's something to work on. Huh. Long dark hallway is my favorite. And you know, something that's cool about this mod is its willingness to embrace true darkness. I mean, even on the streets, it's a rare sight for you to see so much as, like, a panel still glowing. Here, we can count on one hand the number of light sources there are in this tunnel. Like, outdoors doesn't mean bathed in moonlight. Sometimes it just means an overcast, dark city street where your flashlight is your only companion. I'm assuming that my settings for flashlight will be the same. I had a couple of different presets that I was using. Shouldn't we be able to light these? Whatever, I guess we have our flashlight. I've got to lose a few. I remember this. This was actually a really cool horror segment. It's pretty much the one thing I remember about episode 1. An underground tunnel filled to the brim with zombies. Well, zombies in darkness. Truly, it was pitch black, except for whatever light you could produce yourself. Actually, I didn't play this on PC. I played it when I rented the Orange Box for 360. Now there's a blast from the past. Speaking of blasting... Oh yeah. Nope. Don't think I forgot you, pistol. Is there really no way for me to light this emergency flare? Here we go. It's required. Hard to aim without the crosshair, though, of course. Now listen to that. There's nothing but the gentle choir of wind passing through this tunnel. And I guess the sounds of dust settling somewhere. Can we go back this way? To an extent. These videos are always very hard to mix audio-wise, because there's a lot of very subtle sounds that need to be heard in quiet moments. And also there are some very loud ones, such as gunshots, things breaking, or, I don't know, a giant alien tower falling apart around us. And it's all got to be balanced with my voice. Source games in general are always a challenge to mix. Look at this, another train just crashed straight through the tunnel. Imagine being here to see that go through. Well, actually, think about it. It's only when we're not being overwhelmed with zombies that I can really look at what Valve is going for here. They built this right through our existing infrastructure. They were tunneling, making sure these rails had a way to go, came across our stuff, and just bulldozed right on through. Over here. I'm always on the lookout for Easter eggs. Because where better to hide such things than in the dark, right? Walking over things, one of the classic ways to scare yourselves in Source games. Oh, right, I keep forgetting I don't have the crowbar. In-game, I think Barney would give it back to you later at a certain point, but... I'm actually really curious how it's gonna handle that with no one to do so. Look at that. Working lights. Feels like it's been so long since I've seen them, even though it's only been, what, minutes? Is this leading to the great outdoors? God, imagine on a newer engine seeing light pour in through that opening slowly as we rise it. Well, it doesn't matter now because there's just more parking garage. And what would undoubtedly be more zombies. Playing this has caused me to reflect from a bit of a different angle than just being dropped into an empty city like in the first one. And maybe that's deliberate. Oh no, there goes our flashlight. There goes our flashlight. And it's not going to restore itself either. There was actually a point in the first one near the train station where it went off automatically. I don't see any flares, don't see any nothing. I've got no light. Just gotta move towards the exit sign. You killed it in the last second just so I could have a few minutes of feeling my way around in the dark. And there we go, it's back. It's bizarre too, it seems so random. Because in the first game there was just like a couple minutes in the rail yards where it was like that, and then it immediately fixed itself, and that was it for the entire rest of the game. It's a very strange choice, and I don't know, it almost feels like there's more intention to this, which over time I came to suspect even more. It almost feels like something's watching me, like something's toying with me. This place is completely collapsed, but at least we're getting closer to the surface, right? Soundtrack choices in this, combined with the sort of unique vibe that it gives this, it sort of reminds me a whole lot of 28 Days Later's soundtrack. And it's interesting because it does influence how we see this. I mean, some might find this more relaxing than scary, but it definitely shifts the tone to something much more sinister in the way we receive it. I mean, I guess the only word I can use to describe it is just ominous. To go back to the dream comparison, it reminds me of those dreams where you're all alone and you know that some danger is looking for you, but you can't quite recall what that danger is. You kind of get the feeling that it's something that's always been after you, and now it's closer than ever. It goes really well with the intro to this, you know, waking up at the train station, no idea who you are, what's going on, which maps pretty well onto the start of Half-Life 2, doesn't it? Especially if you didn't play Half-Life 1. Okay, get down there, you. Feel like I'm playing Interior Worlds. You know, with a gravity gun and the ability to launch cars around. What am I doing? Did we need you for something? Well, I see an exit sign up there. Now there's no soundtrack at all, it's just the electrical noise. Which isn't the most reassuring thing in a flooded basement where I feel like I'm gonna get zapped. This isn't looking much better, but goodies are always hiding under the stairs in Half-Life games. I don't know why I'm even bothering, considering I only ever need enough pistol ammo to break things. Alright, I guess this is something we're gonna have to deal with sooner or later. Every once in a while I think it's a good idea to turn my lights off and kind of appreciate the lighting that Valve put into it. I mean, look at this. 2004, or I guess maybe like 5 or 6 for the episodes. I can't believe it's been that long. I remember being so hyped for episode 2 to come out. I also remember finally playing it and thinking, man, I can't wait to play episode 3 in a couple of years. How time flies. Then dies. And then I cries. Yeah, these flares, they don't seem to be working unless they need to be shot or something. Nope. This is one mighty big room, but the elevator is right there. So I'm imagining what would happen here is it would be a defense. You and Alex waiting for the elevator while zombies pour in from every side. All while you're in total darkness. I mean, I had commented on how bizarre it was to just turn our light off for that one particular moment, but I imagine it would actually be dead for this entire segment, right? Oh, here is where we can turn the power on? No? Could be one of those orphaned gameplay things. Looks like we're getting out of here right now. Oh, how I yearn for daylight. If there is actually to be any daylight. We saw some before, but who knows? And with each floor, we get to see what kind of state this place is in. The consequences of the rebellion and all we've done, it was everything we had worked so hard for. But in the end, it's all going to be destroyed anyway. There's never any question that it was worth it, but again, all of this does come at a cost, and I feel like that's something that a lot of video game stories don't really explore, the consequences of actions. I still remember a moment in the remake of Modern Warfare 2 where you end up getting into, like, through circumstances, you're trying to raid a village that's controlled by the cartel you're fighting, but then you end up fighting the Mexican army who shows up, and it's supposed to be this, like, horrible moment where, you know, lines are crossed and allegiances are broken, and then somebody just says, oh yeah, they're on the cartel payroll, it's all good, and then nothing ever comes of it. one of the best things you can do in storytelling is to acknowledge the weight of things that have happened. So many things fall flat on that, where they're just trying to have more spectacle and more things and more lore, and just focus on the experience. Just make things feel like they mattered, and it won't matter how over the top you got. You can make something as simple as a walk through the woods feel awesome. You can make something as simple as shapes moving in a platform segment feel awesome. Thomas Was Alone. That's a game I'm going to have to play on this channel at some point. Right now, Gordon was alone. And for all the destruction we saw down below, the streets are perfectly fine. I mean, we've opened up the Eye of Sauron in the middle of City 17, but other than that, no sign of any fighting. It took a long time to get here. It's towards the end of the game when you leave Nova Prospect, but seeing the streets in this way, that was how I knew there was something more to this, something more than just allowing us to experience the same game with a vibe. We can have a look back here. Desolation by day. A different feeling, but I'm kind of glad we're experiencing it. I had opted out of it in this section of the late game, but now there's no choice. Let's look around a bit. Oh, wow, this timer is still counting down. I should get moving, but not before. Not before we play some more of this music. Ah, there we go. Null. Null sounds good, considering I've been playing broken script. Yeah, that feels appropriate. Silence is one thing, but I've really come to appreciate these tracks. I mean, it's gloomy, it's oppressive, but it gives you space to breathe as well. I don't really have much of a vocabulary for describing music, so I'm just kind of saying what comes to mind and hoping it will resonate with you the way it resonates with me. None of that sounds good. Somehow, even in the face of this chaos, it still seems to work. I mean, all of it strikes me as music to listen to, you know, while you're sitting on your enclosed porch in the middle of a gloomy afternoon while a rainstorm pours outside. When maybe you're feeling just a little down, nothing too serious, but I don't know, you're just kind of thinking about everything all at once. And in a way, it's sort of a comforting dreariness. Like, you don't feel good generally, but everything's more or less okay right now. You know, nothing's currently on fire. Now, once more, I don't know what would have been the case, but in the last video, there were a lot of interiors opened up on the streets that would not have been before. A lot of extra room for exploration. And of course, if we end up getting stuck due to this timer, we can always turn it off. There's a lot of foresight in this. There's a lot of thought given to the experience. and being able to customize it however you like. Me personally, I kind of like having this fire under us until it becomes a problem. Besides, incentive to hurry along is not the worst of things. Just think, we came from all the way over there. Something I've always loved about the Half-Life games is how revolutionary it was to not break up the experience. How once you set foot in the game, you are with your character from the beginning until the very end, and in a way, the Alone mod can make you feel that even more. Because there's no distractions. It is almost like just getting up one day and deciding to walk a really, really long distance and not stop until we arrive, not even knowing where we intend to arrive. It's a weird association, but I kind of have almost come to think of this mod as like Cry of Fear's more mellow cousin. Which, you would think that they have nothing in common, but it's like what I was just saying about the music. Hello, grenades. Okay, maybe mellow was the wrong word to use. But it's like what I was just saying about the music. It's sort of dour and melancholy. Melancholy's not even right. Cry of Fear is more on that end. This, it is hostile in a way. It's like being stared down as you walk through somewhere, but not in the sense that you're imminently about to be attacked. Okay, can't go that way. I guess a better way to put it would be, it feels more like when you're just like sitting there contemplating some harsh reality, you know? It's just an unfriendly world, even if it's not currently outright hostile to you. We're on a time limit and I don't know where we're going. Is there some place we can jump to? An open door? Can we blow up that tanker? Ooh, here we are. We may need you to make a little bit of room, bud. There we go. Just think of what we could do if we still had our fizz gun. Anything back there? No, sir. But there is something through here. It's alright, we've still got half an hour for it to yank away from us at the last second. Okay, exploration path. Oh my, we are not going the direction I thought we were. I was expecting it to curve to the right into that room. Instead, oh my! Well, now I'm going this way. Just to spite you. Ooh. Would have been real spiteful if that had exploded, set off a chain reaction that took out this entire room. Imagine if that's how Gordon Freeman went out. Nobody even knew where he was. Years from now, they find his blown apart skeleton. You know, I'm used to elevators collapsing in games, but that was one of the more unique ones. I actually appreciate it that it was actually on me to get out of that. Somebody was angry at the guy behind the counter. Don't explode. I still need to jump on your head to get out of here. It's funny that in these vents, in a low-level building on the streets, I'm hearing the same ruptures in space-time as I was in the Citadel, the source of it all. Okie dokie. Yep. Good thing I didn't try to jump for this thing. I'd have thunked myself on the bars. So imagine you actually know how long it's going to be until all of this is destroyed. Imagine how frustrating it must be to be there crawling around in vents when it's your life on the line. "21 minutes. We just spent like a third of our time going through there. Though I guess I shouldn't complain too much. Imagine doing all this while charging against Striders and Combine remnants. We can go into the hospital. Or the... hang on, the Stationar? Stationar? Is that how you would say that? I'm sorry, when did we get to Never Lose Hope Hospital? I don't remember this whatsoever. Look at all these open spaces and winding hallways. This is an absolute labyrinth. Was this a thing in gameplay? But it's constantly reminding me of how we're running out of time, but I want to see more. I want to explore more. That's the whole point of this, isn't it? See, Half-Life 2 was very visual. It was very show, very little tell. Stuff like this really helps with that. When the occupiers have vacated, we get to move in and see only what was left behind. Okay, I guess that was the exploration path. Works for me. Wow, it is reminding me ever so frequently now, isn't it? Just think, these trains were probably lifted up for maintenance and then never touched for 20 years. Then again, the Combine do still use civilian trains, as we saw in the intro. That was one choice that I thought was really, really cool about Half-Life 2, was how it almost feels like an invasive parasite, the Combine. They attach and use what's already there, while substituting their own things where appropriate. And it leads to a really cool clash of alien and human technology in a lot of ways. That's a real door, but we can't open it. Oop. Okay, what are we doing from here? I never expected to feel rushed in this, but here we are. Should probably also be making quick saves once in a while. I forget to do it when I'm not platforming. How are we getting in here? Or maybe we just need to come around to the other side. Seems the case. Three minutes, 57 seconds till Citadel collapse. Yep. I figured you'd do something like this. And you thought I wouldn't notice. I guess we spent 17 minutes watching the paint chip. And maybe lapping some of them up as they fell, catching them in our tongue like snowflakes. Does the hazardous environment suit protect me from things I ingest? I would hope so. I'd be going to White Castle. Not getting out this way. Once more, these levels seem so abstract when you're not constantly being instructed on what to do and where to go. I do sort of vaguely remember leaving on a train, though. I just don't remember what the objective was. Maybe something to do with lowering this thing? There's a button in the back there. There is a button. Oh, I hope it's not too late. What, now that I need it, you've got no updates for me? Oh. Citadel explosion starting now. Good timing. And by good timing, I mean you probably just triggered it, but I guess let's stay back and watch the show. It is our handiwork after all. It's only fair that we should get to see it. And we had to run the farthest to escape it. Look at that. Look at the sky darken. Oh no! Reality warped to leave a Looney Tunes 2D image on that underpass. And even for all that distance, we just couldn't quite escape. Oh. Now it's cry of fear again. Look at this. We awaken the next night. Is it weird that I want to climb into one of these misaligned seats and fall asleep in it? It's like being cradled, right? a big twisted metal cradle. Partly flooded in the dark, the sounds of everything settling around us. Ooh. In the water, our own weight, enough to move an entire train car. And we find the night lit, not just by a moon, but by whatever energy has been opened up in the site of the Citadel. Just think, that dark, towering thing that's followed us our entire journey now acts as a source of light. It's like all of this was just our attempts to have a nightlight on our travels. Oh, darkness in the woods. I don't know what it is, but as soon as I saw that this would be the case, I was instantly totally at ease. I really, really like this. We never did get our crowbar. Without Barney, we really are lost. But with the grav gun, all things are possible. start making our way through the woods. This really is like Cry of Fear now. Can we climb on top of the wreckage? There must be somewhere we can go. I imagine we'll probably want to climb up there. Getting onto the bridge, well, it seems like the most organized we can get. Perhaps there's something up here? Ah, we can open these doors. You know, it's funny, I was so in awe of what we just witnessed that I almost didn't turn around and see that, which is really funny because I think I remember hearing a developer commentary a while back talking about how hard it was to get playtesters to look at that. Do you see it? You guys see it, right? Over on the right side of the screen? It's a very strange visual bug. Something which appears only in our periphery, like something we expect to see in a dream. But in a dream, whenever you try and focus on something, it disappears. Oh, into the mines, and hopefully it's not as much of a death trap as the ones outside of Father Gregori's sanctuary. Of course, on this playthrough, he wasn't there either. I played Half-Life 2 for the Patreon. This reminds me, I'm gonna have to do the episodes as well. You know, they say there's not a single tunnel in the Half-Life universe that hasn't collapsed at some point. Energy? I don't have my HUD, but I imagine that a lot of damage was done to us in the crash. Look at this. I swear, there was a huge leap forward when it came to Half-Life 2 Episode 2, and I know Valve did modify the engine just a bit for each iteration, but there's just something about the lighting and the textures in Episode 2 where, like, I can just smell the pine needles. I can smell the decaying wood of these mines and cabins. I have always loved the vibe of Episode 2, and that's why this has always been something that I was really excited to get to in this mod. And so far, it has not disappointed. I actually just think I realized what it is. It reminds me of a camping trip I took when I was like 11 to Pennsylvania. Went into an old cave, slept in some cabins with no windows or doors on a freezing night. It's weird how something like this, something which takes place in a completely different part of the world, just has these little triggers that take me right back there. Now, if I remember rightly, this, yes, was where we located Noam Chomsky. We'll see if it gets annoying, but I'm really tempted to take him with us. Who knows if we'll still get the opportunity to send him into our Kerbal Space Program. But we've got to try, right? I think here would have been a puzzle where we had to figure out how to start the generator and all that. We would have talked, I think, to Eli on the screen. But for now, everything's already been opened for us. No, maybe this will be a challenge for another time, but in Source, you're just kind of going to be taking up our whole field of vision the entire time we carry you. Tell you what, I think it'll be enough to leave you as a greeter for the next people. Let's just go ahead and sit you up right in front of the front door. This dude's like, thanks for leaving me outside in the rain, you jerk. Wait, what happens if we start pulling cables? We can't. Okay, yeah, no, I understand now. So over here would likely be where we were supposed to find another cable to plug in, and that would be how we get the cables and the TV started and would get out the door. But as of right now, there's nothing to do. I just figured I'd look around. Even though I know the nature of this mod and I've already been through the full campaign, I still can't stop thinking in exploring mode. But it looks like we are heading into the mines. It teased us with it for a moment, and we got a brief glimpse of fresh air. Ooh, I know what it wants us to do. There we go. God, that was satisfying. Caved in up here as well. Well, I guess there's only one way now. Yep. Oh, hey, look at that. We are actually outside still. It keeps teasing me, but I know that we're going to be spending some time underground. Just the wind and the rattle of crickets. All this industry just left to rot. It feels really weird playing this immediately after episode 1. I mean, as far as our consciousness goes, it's happening right after, so I guess it's putting us in Gordon's shoes. But it's such a change of pace, such a change of scenery. And those glitches are stalking us in the sky once more. Maybe it's a concession made to make this skybox work the way it needs to. Because look, this level normally takes place during the day, and all of those effects still need to be there. It might have actually been more technically difficult than we think to get this working. Climbing in through the roof like a SWAT team. Yep. Or a ninja. Well, we can simply remove this lock and escape through the lower hatch, where I would really expect some clawed zombie arms to reach out and try and grab me. This is making me feel very nostalgic for the first Alan Wake. What do you think? This game may take place in Eastern Europe, but it is distinctly Pacific Northwest feeling. I stand corrected. Barney's not the only one who could deliver our beloved crowbar back to us. And hey, as they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Now it's been even longer than usual. Come on. Ugh. Couldn't even go 24 hours without falling down a collapsing elevator shaft. Well, here we are. It's also sort of reminding me of the environment from the Wendigo Gary's Mod map I played a few years back. You know what I'm now realizing? We're like getting a lot of the way through this. We're already all the way through episode 1 and a good way into episode 2, and I have not even talked about like some of the topics I just wanted to talk about randomly. I've actually had a lot to say about the game itself. You guys remember that Garten Ban video I did for April 1st? Yeah, that's pretty much what happens when I get to like 2 or 3 days before and realize I don't have a video for it. And a lot of people misunderstood it, actually. I mean, you could take it as at face value and say like, oh, I'm memeing on Garten Ban, that game that's really popular to hate. Some people who like Garten Ban was kind of upset about that, and I felt bad about that. Mainly because that wasn't really the point of the video. Like, the joke of it wasn't, I'm playing Garten Ban. I wanted to do something with that, like, people wouldn't know what to think of it. I wanted something that was, like, funny and goofy and had some sarcasm, but was also, like, just genuinely weird at points, and not weird in the way of, like, making fun of it in an abstract sense, but just, I don't know, the kind of thing that makes you think, like, is the person making this video okay? Things where, like, you wouldn't be sure whether to laugh or be creeped out. Or whether something was wrong, if there were, like, editing mistakes, like, that kind of thing. It was sort of meant to go for, like, the creepiness of confusion. I don't know if there was more up there we could have gotten. I mean, I know there's a stash right above us, but I think that's all. I actually don't really have such strong feelings about Garten Ban. I'd actually played it once before. That wasn't my first time playing it. After a while, it just decided, nope, get a move on, get down there. Once, about a year before, I had actually streamed it to the Discord using Discord's own streaming feature. A handful of people watched it. I recorded it at the same time too, but at the time, I, for some reason, got like 1 frame per second. Or possibly even less than that, like 1 frame every 2 or 3 seconds. It was, for some reason, the performance was horrible on the recording. It is not a well-optimized game whatsoever. Well, we're going down there. Oh my god, ow!
Fracture detected.
I just got bunked. Don't you bunk me. I love how this is our first look at this segment. Basically offering anyone with arachnophobia the opportunity to turn back now. Well, hey, I guess that's one blessing of playing the Alone mod, right? There shouldn't be anyone down here. Oh, look at the way that webbing sways in the breeze. Like a curtain in a haunted house. Ugh. Everything feels so organic and sticky and gross. Will you peel apart too? You will not. Oh, it's so claustrophobic. Somehow so much worse in the vents. Is this the kind of place where music would be appropriate? I feel like nothing but the wind is appropriate for here. I'm very aware of all the echoes. Everything I do just kind of reverberates off the cave walls. And I don't know what it is, there's something about an echo that makes me extra attentive. Even looking at the boxes, it's very clear that there's some sort of post-processing filter going on here. I hadn't thought about that, but it's true. This mod seems to be deliberately making it even darker, even in the mines, not just on the city streets. Oh, there's a whole bunch of explosives if we need them. Thank you, and thank you. And we can always toss this. See, the thing about crawling in here is that not only is it claustrophobic, in real life there'd be no guarantee of finding a way out, but there's the added horror of knowing that you're crawling into something else's element. Something that, in that element, you would be, for sure, supremely outmatched against. But hey, this is a lone mod, right? Ooh, we even get the revolver. I don't really want to collapse all this on top of me. I've been bonked enough in this video, thank you very much. Getting bonked is like one of my least favorite things. The thing about brain trauma is that it's cumulative. The more times it happens, the worse off you'll be, especially as time goes on. Even if you seem fine at first, it can catch up with you. So all of that was to work our way around the fence that was presumably put up to prevent whatever made this from getting in. Episode 1, in a lot of ways, feels like a mod for Half-Life 2. This is a lot more substantial, because we finished that in under 2 hours. This has got a lot more going on in terms of its visuals, its environment, and its storytelling, but that's not really a concern for us right now. I really thought I was gonna have to swim downward through that. No, we've got something different to swim downward through. It's not weird that somebody had a boat down in these caverns. It's weird that someone got a boat down here. Can you imagine the operation? Can you imagine being the one reluctant friend who was conscripted to bring it down here? See, I've got to imagine that this cave in gameplay would be full of those new type of antlions. But no? That anxiety is never leaving me. It's actually kind of more tense because it perpetually feels like the build-up to meeting a new type of creature. As I'm progressing through here, a weird effect is happening where I'm forgetting that I already know the source material, that I know where this is going. I can never hold it in my head that nothing can get me here. Let's try for the claustrophobia tunnels. Oh, this is like being in the polar bear cave at SeaWorld. Which is something that I brought up multiple times on the channel. No, seriously, it's the most terrifying thing ever. At SeaWorld, they have these, like, constructed little caves that kids can crawl through. And think of it like a terrifying Chuck E. Cheese play place, where there's no real windows or anything. It's all cave-shaped. It's dark and cramped, and they play polar bear noises that echo throughout. Utterly horrifying. Here we are. It's suggesting that we open the song panel, so I think we better do what it says. Yeah, something that sounds like it's echoing in a mall sounds more appropriate for this. And we can really travel quite a ways down these tunnels. Yes, I do remember this. This was the site of a defense mission. We were tasked with guarding each of these tunnels. While wave after wave of antlines tried to come through. So many of these soundtracks have an almost VHS distortion quality to them. I've really got to wonder if someone who was an adult when that stuff was coming around would have that same level of nostalgia for it, or how differently they'd perceive it. Kids who were born well after also seem to get something out of it, and of course most people playing this would probably be around my age, people who were kids in like the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Hang on, no, bring it back. The transitioning through levels doesn't always work properly. Actually, I believe the dev commented on the first video and said something to that effect. Granted, I'm using the same version as before, so it's possible that it's been updated and the link in the description will actually work properly. I didn't like that. I open that next to a slope and I expect tons of gore and body parts to come sliding out. What was I thinking when I said this reminds me of a song that would be playing in a closed-down mall? It is so much creepier to hear it bouncing off of cave walls. I mean, just think, you're down here in a place that is truly not human, something that was not built by people. Something that's been here since maybe even long before we existed as a species. And yet, there's music wafting up from the deepest levels where no one's ever been. Caving does not get nearly enough credit for being creepy, for the potential for the horror in what can be found there, and even the horror in a human being in some place they were never meant to be. It's the kind of thing that's intrinsic, primal. I just remember reading stories like Substation 9 and Ted's Caving Page. Our flashlight doesn't even begin to reach the bottom. There's something even creepier about the moment the music ends, isn't there? Something as little as that, just a ball of web wiggling in the breeze. It makes it so that I can feel the wind gently pass over my skin. Even just little indicators like that can immerse you so much more. I guess there was a grenade just on the floor of this tunnel. Who knows, maybe we'll need it. I'll take it. Something people built. This feels a lot like it's going to collapse from under us, but wow, what is happening to us? This post-processing is wild. Here! In calling it out for a moment, I almost thought you weren't going to do it. I actually made myself believe in my own propaganda. I always say, if I call it out, it's not going to happen. And most often I'm right. Can you hear that? I swear I heard a door close, but definitely couldn't have been me. And maybe it was just an echo from some of the breaking. And those boards aren't the only thing that broke here. Could always use more healing. Especially when we don't know what our health is. Oh man, they are really, really leaning on the contrast and saturation. But it looks like this is going to be another physics puzzle. We need more weight. That looks heavy. Well, apparently it's not that heavy. Getting there. Wow, we really must have been hurt. That was some bunk. Nothing over there to open the gate. A bloody pickaxe. Wow, that thing was... Excuse me? I mean, there's bunks, and then there's whatever that is. Wait, can we... We can just yoink now. Yoink-a-doodle-doo. And yoink-a-doodle-doo. I didn't hear the thing again. That's worth noting. Okay. Let's do it the same way, but don't be standing next to this thing. Getting crushed between it and the floor this time. I really didn't think the pickaxe would be enough to trigger its weight limit. I guess metal counts for metal. From the look of it, those things have adapted to our mind structures as well. And they are really going out of their way to make this darker than dark, huh? Almost feel like I should be using a night vision camera like from Outlast. Let's see what other tracks we can use. Couple more metal weights hiding back there. Oh, I see. I bet we need to weigh it down so that it doesn't ascend so fast and we can run out and get it. Falls with quite a crash, doesn't it? Okay, you here? Nope, come on. You here. And you here? I wonder if we can make it so heavy that it won't pick up at all. And you here. We'll save this corner for us. And we'll see if you behave any differently. You will. Yep. Just made it. Imagine if I got crushed again. Actually, with me on board, it can't make it up at all. Now, this raises some interesting physics questions, doesn't it? It's practically as if it's weightless while it's being held by us. Which makes sense, it's not being transferred to the ground by our legs. But again, a lot of unanswered questions here. And now you're fine. You're able to hold that level. Open up, you. I don't know if we actually need to, it just feels right. Video games, it's about opening doors. Now there's an interesting blood stain. It's like something dies here, is dragged over here, and then decomposes or simply disappears, leaving stains all around it. I'm sorry, I'm just really worried that the second I jump onto this thing, it'll... Yep! So that's why I got off, was because I knew you were going to do this. You already fooled me once. Could use some more tunes. Stop what you are doing. You know, I've felt like that was being whispered in my ear every step of this way. Mines are definitely one of the more memorable segments from the Half-Life 2 end episodes. Oh my god! I've been aware that it would try something like this because of Father Grigori's mine, but this was something else. I was crouching. I had to stand up and get the speed to run away first. Question is, what actually caused it to fall? It's almost like someone up there ahead gave it a little push. All I keep thinking when I look at how sharp these textures are and how good this game looks is, man, this is going to be a huge file size. The amount of data that it takes to actually store all of this is insane. And, you know, something that I've given a lot of thought to is what happens if, like, something happens with a librarian channel. Like, due to some nonsense, the channel gets deleted or taken down, or YouTube stops working as a platform. Like, what would I do? Well, there's still a lot of earlier videos that I need to go and download from YouTube because I don't have the originals, but for the most part, like from 2022 onward, I still have all of those like final rendered files. I don't have the source files, but I do have the final renders. And it's a lot. It's a ridiculous amount. Just for reference, for the volume of data we're talking about here. Oh my god, I figured this would happen. You know, this is what happens when you get distracted. Sometimes you skip a stair. Ow. And sometimes you end up careening down a mine shaft. It's actually... That is weird. It's like it's pulling me down some force. Like really, really hard, like much more than you'd expect. And I really had to fight it to swim back up. But anyway, as I was saying, I mean, look, all these videos are 1440p 60 FPS. So that's pretty big right there. And then on top of all that, sometimes I'm doing them 4K now, especially with like Gary's Mod VR stuff. Increasingly, it's 4K 60 FPS. That's a lot of data. And then, you know, I'm rendering all that and storing it. I put all of that on, so I record to two 8TB hard drives that are in my PC, and then when a video is done rendering, I put it to a 16TB external, and that 16TB external is quickly approaching full. I also have a 14TB external that is just kind of cold storage. All that is a backup of the 16TB, and that just kind of fills up and sits on a shelf completely, like, not plugged in or anything. So there is some level of redundancy where if something were to happen on YouTube's end or on my end, these things wouldn't be lost. I put a lot of care into making sure that that doesn't happen, but at the same time, like, it's just going to be more and more that I need to store, that I need to come up with solutions. You're not falling good. I probably need health and energy, but I guess not. And the thing is, like, downloading from YouTube is not an ideal solution either, because YouTube applies a lot of compression. Their file sizes are certainly a lot smaller than my file sizes, but most compression algorithms, they look at darkness, darkness in my videos. When will we ever see that, right? And it tends to crush that stuff down and eliminate a lot of detail, which isn't good for dark videos. So I really, really want to make sure that if something were to happen, I have my own archive that I can make available somehow. But videos are often like 10 gigs, 20 gigs, even like 30 or 40 on the very high end. Ah, here's a cave. Very useful. Here we go. And please don't take that as me, like, complaining about having to do all this stuff, because it's really no big deal. It's just, I actually do get kind of excited talking about, like, the technical side of what goes into some of these things, because it is a whole lot of work. I mean, I've been putting out more than one video a day for a long time, and that's just kind of become the channel precedent. Okay, that sounded a lot like breathing and growling for a second, but I think that's machinery working. In fact, I think it's an antlion thumper. Oh, right down here. It must be driving them crazy. But yeah, I just figured there's some of you that will, like, appreciate knowing, like, some of the back-end stuff. As I was saying a second ago, like, it's become the norm that I do at least one upload a day, sometimes more. And where that comes from was, like, towards the end of 2023, I was trying to get done with the Halloween special. And so that's a whole lot of Gary's Mod recording that takes place over, like, weeks. And I realized at that point, like, I'm recording all this stuff just, like, to have in my back pocket so that I can spend more time on this, but what that means is I have a lot of videos that are just, like, sitting for a long time. And at that time, I was used to doing a schedule of only 3 uploads a week. It was like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I thought, well, okay, if I take some of these longer series and split them up, I could put those in the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday slot. So I could conceivably, throughout the month of October, have a video every day. And that was like a 2023, like, event. And then by the end of it, I was like, dude, I have such a backlog. This stuff is going to take forever to come out. I can truly start, you know what, let's throw one on Sunday. Throw one on Sunday, just something smaller. And I've always kind of maintained that level of work from the end of 2023 and never stopped. I've never been able to make myself stop. And we've gotten to the point where now every day, or more than every day, is just the new normal. The Combine wised up. This one doesn't even have a button. Imagine being the unfortunate souls who have to come down here and set this up. Now, don't get me wrong, that led to 2024 and now probably 2025 being extremely successful. In fact, April 2025 has been the most successful month in the channel's history, which I am immensely proud of, and that's all thanks to you guys. I'm extremely grateful for this community and how they've stuck around through all this. And, like, all the little jokes that I see people repeating in, like, comments and on the Discord, like, I really do love how into this stuff people get. Because I never thought it was going to end up like this. we go. What's the problem you're having? I pushed the button. What's the problem? Oh, you've been lowering this entire time. I didn't even notice. That is so violent looking. I mean, in addition to the high contrast, you've got the glowing red cage light flashing around while presenting me with a health kit. Like, here you go, kid. You're gonna need it. I don't remember telling you to move. How did you know rickety rusty elevator in an abandoned mine shaft? That tapping noise sounds a lot like insectoid communication. Let's get off. Yep, you wasted no time whatsoever. Feels like I'm playing Infra. Infra is another game that I can't believe was on the Source engine. It released pretty late for a Source game in like 2016, but it looks absolutely gorgeous. I have to say, I'm not a tremendous fan of this post-processing here, though. I think it went just a little bit too far on it. Like, I prefer much lower contrast for something like this. When you crank it up like this, it makes it feel like Doom or something, you know? Like, I expect horrible enemies to come charging through the door, and I'm going to shoot them in a shower of blood. See, this is slightly more like it. Never mind. Nope. Okay, so. How badly have we screwed up? Is that actually an opening? It's not. It's just a weird texture. So I'm back to asking the question, how badly have we screwed up? Those cables go to that light. Yeah, no, what am I doing from here? I seem really quite trapped. There's an invisible wall here now. Not gonna lie, I just went ahead and no-clipped out of here. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, I'm just gonna no-clip through. I think a trigger got broken somewhere. This is not working properly. We can open that for ourselves. But it seems like something's already quite broken. And down and dark, and we're learning that for as deep as we are, it always, always can go deeper. And the run back is when you feel the fingers of something long buried at your neck. Is that daylight? Maybe. Maybe we're finally getting close to the surface. The collapsed tunnels are actually a good sign here, because that means the only way out is... oh. Oh. And hey, it's just as well, because it turns out it never really was daylight anyway. Not that it would be daylight, because it was nighttime. I'd forgotten about that part. You know what? Everything was fine in the end. I kind of thought you might do something like that. And if we just survive that few seconds, we'll be fine. We can crawl through here, sort of. Ow. Now it feels like we've gone from playing Infra to Stalker. Or hey, maybe we'll just go straight down into the grub pits. Yeah, oh my god. Look at the bioluminescence of what I can only assume are a million tiny antlion eggs. There's just something so, like, wet and gross and sticky about this whole section that is a lot worse when it's actually populated. But as it stands, once again, it's never felt more like we're intruding on something's lair. Hey, it's that thing I was afraid of happening before. It made us do it now. See? That's the power of building up expectations properly. And Valve has always been masterful at that. I mean, remember the whole Jeff segment in Half-Life Alyx? That was a level that was nothing but build-up. Okay, where am I going now? That seems about right. There we go, there's our safety revolver. Firing this thing in here would absolutely render you deaf, wouldn't it? It honestly feels like any moment these things would hatch and start dropping onto your head like raindrops. It sort of reminds me of, okay, a video everyone is going to need to watch in channel history is the Tunnel of Nope, or one of 2 videos that take place down there. It's this steam tunnel underneath the maintenance workshop of an abandoned psych hospital I explore, and it is so cramped and dark. It is... You basically have to, like, shimmy your way through. It's wet. The whole floor is full of sludge from decomposed pipe insulation, and the walls are covered in giant crickets. It's awful. Absolutely awful. And things in games just keep conspiring to remind me of it. Oddly enough, the crickets are a good sign because those usually mean you're close to an exit. Then again, that doesn't necessarily mean an exit that you as a person can use. They even threw in the sound effects. Oh my god. You know what's funny in the Half-Life universe? All of this started with Gordon Freeman clocking into work one morning. And it's just been one continuous misadventure ever since. The dude never gets a moment to rest. Well, except for, I guess, the 20 years or so that the G-Man had him in his back pocket. Yeah. Is there actually something down here, or is that just the tunnel collapsing? I mean, let's be real, neither of those are good possibilities. But one of them is significantly more jarring after the length of time we've spent in this world. Look. We may be deep underground, but we're still getting to walk beneath a starry night sky. Do we need health? There we go, use the force. Don't climb in there yourself. You know what's kind of cool is that the episodes are actually kind of continuous. I mean, we lose some time, but we fall off of the tower, we'd fall off the Citadel, work our way through the city and through the tunnels, and then onto the train, into the forest, and down into the mines. This is cohesive. Even Half-Life 2 has a handful of teleports. Yeah, playing these things side by side definitely does have its advantages because I'm more able to see how tight the narrative is that they've crafted, how tight the flow of the story events are. Now here's where we see these things converge. Our own construction, but probably the deepest, oldest parts of it, completely taken over by a form of life that wasn't even here when all of this was built. Well, at least this is still working. I mean, we associate spider and cobwebs with something old, but it's weird, like, it actually means something much newer in this context, in this specific context that only applies to this game. Is something gonna come down or what? We're missing a gear. Well, let's descend even deeper and go find it. So, what would happen if we were to lose it down here? Sorry, don't mind me walking on your young. I'm starting to suspect that I did not need to. But hey, this place provides for some great views, doesn't it? It's sections like this that are really interesting because it's like I was talking about earlier. Half-Life doesn't shy away from the consequences and the greater ramifications of the sci-fi elements. In this case, even if the Combine leave, the things that they brought are here to stay. One way or another, Earth will have to adapt. Those Zen life forms are now completely terrestrial. There's probably no getting rid of them. Alright, where do we find this thing? Because I've not seen it anywheres. Oh, there it is. There's a half. You are? There you are. See, now this is an elevator that knows how to pick up the pace. It's like they say in engineering, the faster an object moves, the more safe and reliable it is. I assume. I've never taken an engineering course. Please tell me we'll get to breathe some fresh air again. Look at this. Oh, we're actually passing right through the same shaft as this. If I had realized from in there how close we were to the surface, I would have climbed out. Did we really need 2 map transitions within like 2 seconds of each other? Also, once again, going really hard on the post-processing. Just like that, we're out! Oh, this is beautiful. It's like I can feel the cool air on my sweaty skin. It's so refreshing to be out here. My lungs feel like they've inhaled a pound of dust. But all is good now. We can still hear those thumpers, but the sounds of the crickets reassure us. Alright, let's see what we got on the radio. Perfect choice. It's curious and somewhat triumphant. It's still got that dark synthy sound to it, still mysterious. But it's much more hopeful. It's really interesting. I wonder in music if sounds are automatically equated with emotion, like there's just something intrinsically about them, or if it's our associations with music that we've heard before and the context it's been used in. These thumpers don't have buttons, so they're not really our problem to deal with. Thing is, like, that's not just rhetorical. This is, I'm sure, a question with an answer. In fact, people in this audience might even be able to comment on it. Like, for example, we associate violins with, like, sadness, with tragedy. And is it something to do with the high pitch, the drawn-out sounds? Or is it because we've heard violins used in scenes like that in media? Does that mean that a person who's consumed more media is more receptive to music? And the different, like, contexts it can be used in? Again, these are things that I don't know, but I'm sure someone does. I'm sure a lot of research has been done on stuff like this. One thing I will say, just as a consumer of it, is that I think music is probably the medium that is most closely resembling just beaming an emotion into the audience's head. Oh my god. And in doing so, I guess it sort of asks the most of an audience. I mean, you watch a movie or a play, it's telling you a story, and you can watch it objectively. With music, you are bringing some of yourself into your interpretation of it. And the same is true of anything, but again, it's stronger with music because it speaks to you on a more intuitive level. Gordon Freeman's repair service. Here we go. How you doing? This thing is not even bothering sitting on the ground and waiting for me to pull the lever again. It's just going straight back up. It knows what the drill is. Or it knows what the pick is. Anyway, we've arrived at our destination. Are we just heading straight back down? No, this looks more built up and perhaps slightly newer than the mine. Or in the back areas, the loading bays. The metal roof has been torn right open. I wonder if that's pre-existing damage or if it's due to our more recent escapades. There are a few things creepier than a rusting sign against a darkened sky. I've noticed in this video that my commentary has been a lot more focused on the game itself rather than just random topics or just musings on the nature of loneliness. I mean, there's been plenty of that. For some reason, the fact that there's light peeking through the roof of that facility down there is kind of creepy. But I think I've got it. See, in the episodes, the level design is a lot more suited to, like, interior environments. We've been going through mines and collapsed road tunnels. Where Half-Life 2 itself was actually a lot more of a road trip. We spent so much time going through the canals in the airboat or driving down that coastal road in the Jeep. And I think that was really the kind of thing, that and walking the streets of the city, that allowed this mod to stand out for what it is. So in that way, I guess it doesn't work quite as well with the episodes, but I think that's about to change. Yep. It's like we just don't take damage in the moments where we have to go downward. In moments where it needs to, this mod has got our back. Now, where to from here? Ah, it's always hiding behind the boxes, isn't it? Play enough Source games and you know what the answer to the puzzle will be before you even know you're solving it. Up and down and up and down and up and down. Let's get out of here before it collapses. We just threw all of our weight onto this thing and it sounds pretty rickety. In a cage stairwell like this, we can actually kind of watch our descent. Even if it's determined to make it so that no one elevator or staircase can deliver us there. Wait. Oh no, we definitely don't want to go that way. You, however, will be doing so for our amusement. Hey, this game is a physics playground. Indulge me. That's weird. Why can we even come into here? I honestly half expected that to be the one place where the dev would have the door close behind me and play a compressed laughing sound. Maybe as flames fill the room. Alright, gun, your time to shine. Well, we've reached ground level and beyond. This same warehouse that kinda creeped me out by being a light in the distance from above. Now it just makes me feel watched from the same shadowy platform I was once on. I guess everything comes down to a matter of perspective. Really, what I view this mod is as an opportunity to kind of slow down and take notice of what was already always there. I mean, I didn't play this game in 2004 when it came out, wasn't even really aware of it, only vaguely. And so, I don't know, somebody who's a veteran, somebody who's been in the source game for all this time, I think would probably notice new things. New things about the level design and think there's no way, that's gotta be a change for the mod, and a lot of the time it isn't. And it kind of makes you think about all the things we pass by in our own day. Something I always used to think about in school was like, what would it be like being here after all the lights are off? Being left to just wander around, not just in the halls, but like in the tunnels in the fallout shelter beneath the school. There was a rumor that this one sealed door under a staircase led to an old rifle range, and I have no idea if any of that was true or not. Well, I know about the tunnels because I explored them a couple of times. Ain't I a stinker? But, like, stuff like this, being able to, I guess, appreciate more what's always around us instead of just seeing it for the objectives we have in our daily lives. Because it is, in situations like this, easy to kind of see how we break our lives down into what can almost be described as game mechanics. Can we get this thing to lift up? We can, in fact. And you don't notice things when you're fixated on a task. We actually need a little bit more than that. We need things stacked up. No. That's not what I wanted. The same thing happened to that box that happened to me before. Okay, that's not gonna stay, but hopefully the box is enough. Seems like it is. Awesome. Oh, we are gonna be pushing you all through here. Unless I have something to say about it. Look at that huge hulk. Just a silhouette against the vague light put down by the sky. And I'm assuming that's our destination. Hey, let's play the toxic sludge mode as lava. You don't even need to pretend that it's lava, really. I mean, a toxic sludge mode is even worse, because it'll give you problems in the immediate aftermath of falling in and potentially years down the line. Just ask the cast of Stalker. Honestly, this whole area just feels like tetanus. I feel like I didn't explain myself very well in what I was just talking about before. You know, talking about the game mechanics of life. Basically what I meant was that we're always focused on our tasks, and we don't appreciate the cool things that are all around us. I mean, cool things like just being able to sit in a dark room and relax, you know? Thinking about how cool the light looks when it falls through a certain window. How comfortable a specific couch is. Yeah.
Warning. Hazardous radiation levels detected.
And then some. I mean, I remember, like, years ago, it was like during COVID, I was sick with not COVID, and I had to go to the hospital and everything. It ended up being like a thing that like doctors didn't even know, or some of them didn't even know like could happen. But by the end of it, like I was out, and I only had to be in for like a night, and I was just kind of like recovering at home for a long time, and I was just kind of like out in the back, something I never do. I was just kind of like sitting next to the pool, just in one of those pool chairs, playing like word games on my phone. And I remember just thinking, this is really nice. And this has always been out here for me to do, and I've just never done it. You know what I did shortly after that? I rewatched Nacho Libre because I had a zest for life. And that's what you do when you have a zest for life, is you watch Nacho Libre. Specifically, Nacho Libre. Okay, so you put the ladder here, but didn't open the door. I've got to say, the introduction of the car works so much better at night. We climb up here, it's not even visible at first, and then just as it appears, framed up in our light, the thing just beyond it releases another emission. As if to say, here's your ride. Oh, this reminds me so much now of Pacific Drive, but I now remember something that we had to do in the previous episode. So let's go into here and let's change our flashlight strength to very high. Our FOV, yeah, no, we just need to put that all the way up. The FOV is always high. There we go. It ain't much, but it's necessary. That was not the thing to do. That was not what we had to do. I thought that there would be like a lower level down here. I guess not so. I guess we need to figure something out, huh? We can climb up on our own. Perhaps what we need is to put more weight on this end. Oh, it's a giant seesaw puzzle. Valve and your seesaw puzzles, you love them so much. Or maybe not. Maybe what we really need is to just knock these things off entirely. Either way, less weight on one end is less weight, right? There we go. And look, it doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't need to be perfect, we just need to be able to drop down onto it rather than slipping under it. It's a lesson in plate tectonics, if you squint. Alright, let me just check again. Is this as much as we can get out of this flashlight? That is as much as we can get out of this flashlight. Yep. Wow, and this thing actually does a monstrously good job of knocking things out of the way, including my teeth out of the way of my tongue. Open up. That's that gate open, which allows us easy access back to here. But that's not really what we need, is it? I mean, I'll certainly take these things. Thank you very much. But imagine that generator is going to be the other half of the battle. There we are. Note, once you put this thing into turbo, you cannot stop. So let's put it into turbo and rock it into the darkness, shall we? Ooh. Not gonna lie, that's darker than I expected. We're doing some night driving. And unlike the long drive, this has trees. See, right now my girlfriend Elster is playing through Pacific Drive for the first time, and it's the way she talks about it, it really makes me want to play it again. I love that game. But it wasn't really what I expected at all. I expected it to be something more like this. Focusing much more on the driving than the constantly getting out and scavenging. And if I remember episode 2 correctly, there are opportunities to get out and do so. This was actually really cool and innovative because while the first game did feature driving sections, here we actually had a passenger. We had Alex riding shotgun the entire time. It was really, really cool. Looks like this thing is decent for off-roading as well. But I certainly wouldn't mind some headlights to go along with it. You know what it is? I think the nose of this thing is so long that it actually blocks it a lot more than the Jeep did. Okay, well, obviously, we gotta put the radio on. Gate. There must be something here at the base of this radio tower. You ever arrive someplace at night at the end of a curved driveway and you have that moment where the headlights just pass over the building in the dark? Really cool to experience that here. Also, I don't know if that was shadows or if that door just opened. Okay. Flashlight FOV got set way down for some reason. Let's set that strength to low. Look at that, we can observe the whole thing from the window. Seriously, I can't stress it enough. It's the soundtrack that makes the entire vibe of this game. It's the kind of thing that makes it go from something that I would honestly probably get pretty bored with to something that almost feels like it's telling a story through its soundtrack, like much like how a dream is told. Remember when I said that music is like the closest thing to being able to just beam an emotion into your audience's head? Well, constantly having that while going through this, it's like it's allowing us to follow a dream through emotions. I mean, in a dream, the most insignificant thing can feel like the most important thing in the world. I mean, you can look at something as simple as a wilting flower in a pot on a table and be almost brought to tears by it. With this, that sense of foreboding that it has that just emanates from everything, all wrapped up in, I guess, one of the most familiar games to someone who would be playing this. Okay, you're green and you're green, which means you're powered. That's lights on. Is there... I mean, what if we were to go like that? That's not working. So we need you to go there, lights on. I really thought that that wouldn't do that. So does this mean that now we'll be able to use yield transmitter? This must be important for progression, because the one in the place with Noam Chomsky, we didn't need to. It basically allowed us to skip that puzzle. Probably has to do with this. Yes, this gate is now open. Excellent. And now we go and manually switch our flashlight back. This music combined with this countryside drive, it's weird. It's so relaxing, but it sort of makes me feel like it's delaying the inevitable. Like I'm driving to keep myself from experiencing my own thoughts, like it's an attempted escape from something that I already know I can't escape from. Thank you, loading screen, for saving me from that horrible crash. Then again, the added momentum is almost causing one. I'll be honest, I'm taking it slow partly to enjoy the scenery and the drive, and partly so I can continue to hear the soundtrack. Can I go off-road a bit? Is there anything to see? No, but there is a house and a barn that, when framed up like this, do feel pretty haunted, not gonna lie. I had forgotten this little flashlight dance. Perfect time for things to suddenly go silent on me. I could probably just drive through, but, well, where's the fun in that? So I guess this takes place sometime around the fall. Which only makes sense, because that's the kind of air I've been imagining this entire time. The smell of dead leaves. Can't get through there. I actually remember this, I think. I think this is where, in the actual game, Gordon and Alex would have their first encounter with a Combine advisor. And even in its absence, its otherworldly presence remains. Oh, this won't even move. It doesn't even have the right material. The Alone mod truly is a haunted experience. Okay, if at all possible, let's keep it moving. Actually, with that in mind, you know what it kind of feels like? It feels like we're replaying a bad memory. Like we're going through all the most traumatic moments of our past and just sort of watching them pass without any of the actors involved in those scenes. In other words, like visiting a place of death with everything already dead. I mean, I know all I can really do in this is keep reporting on the vague feelings this gives me. I mean, I know that a lot of the time all I can do is report on the vague feelings that it's giving me, but it is just that small, bad feeling in the back of your head. My God. Okay, we can replicate it. That definitely looked like a shadowy figure moving behind the train car, didn't it? I'm not the only one who saw that. Oh, don't scare me when I'm mid-commentary. That there's something really wrong here, and you should know what's really wrong, but you can't quite place what it is. Like you always feel like you're just on the verge of remembering, and then as you're about to, you don't. Not that way. Or that way, apparently. Ooh, maybe we can ramp that? We can totally ramp that. Whee! This was probably a chase segment. And like I said, I don't remember it all that well, but this definitely feels reminiscent of the helicopter chasing the airboat. All these things to break through, making it more exciting as we go. But as it stands in its current state, it just sort of serves to remind me of games I've played like Drive Me to Hell. Almost feels like some kind of afterlife punishment. Like I'm doomed to wander forever, repeating the same loop over and over again. I suppose you could see it as the natural result of playing the same game over and over again for 20 years. And I can't believe Half-Life 2 turned 20 years old last year. I mean, I remember thinking, okay, 20 years ago, that's like Pac-Man. That's like Super Mario Brothers. Did I see a switch or something that we could use? Right there. But that's not what we're doing. No, our path is probably through here. Gravgun, you're up. I guess not. We'll just use our good old-fashioned elevator collapsing body mass. Wow, nothing wants to break right now. Okay, I guess we'll rely on the crowbar. I don't know why this particular track maps so well onto the feeling that someone should be here, but they aren't. I had said earlier that melancholy was Cry of Fear's thing, and for the most part that's still true. This feels more like a nagging feeling that something's wrong. But maybe it's just coupled with the nostalgia for this game that does make me feel a little bit sad. I don't know why, but in this case it's making me feel like I let somebody down, like I showed up too late. Like they waited for me for a long time, and that time is long past. Maybe we're leaving the car. You finally did it. You did the thing where you trapped me. I knew that door closed too quickly. Look at that, a junkyard. And you know the thing about a junkyard, it means there's a whole lot of open space for the darkness, and a whole lot of foreground for me to catch my light on. Ooh, a lambda. That means that there would be some hidden goodies around here. But they may have been removed for this version, who knows? Thank you, ominous groaning of metal through the night. That is a good sign that I probably can't jump across this no matter how hard I try. See, the thing is, something like this, of Half-Life 2 but remixed to be completely empty. Obviously, that is very much about memories of a familiar game, about corruption of our own past. It all seems to be part of the same wave of this generation's brand of horror, which has a lot to do with nostalgia. I mean, creepypastas about lost episodes of shows we watched as kids, of shows that we never saw, that never really existed, but come from around the same time period. We've got all these liminal space images that seem to almost be like photos of memories. Those kinds of things that are so dark and vignetted that remind us of our childhood, usually the 80s and 90s, where you simply can't imagine what's around the corner, places that look familiar but not. I'm just saying, it definitely seems to be a trend among our generation of like 80s, 90s, early 2000s kids to equate fear with memories and nostalgia. And I do wonder if that wouldn't maybe present differently in older people. Like, if you were to do the same thing with different older imagery, if they would get a similar feeling from it, or if there's something unique to us that kind of leaves us with that association. Or maybe it's even simpler than that. Maybe it's just the internet allowing people to kind of connect on things that everyone sort of feels, but no one would otherwise vocalize. I mean, you'd probably sound like a crazy person on your own if you say, like, hey man, you remember those Chuck E. Cheese play places and how, like, unnerving it was when you're, like, a 3-year-old and you don't even remember how you got in there and it feels like you're going to be lost in there forever? And then other people go, oh yeah, right, and then somebody else with talent writes a creepypasta. Maybe it has a cascading effect. I feel like the internet does that for a lot of concepts, and well, it's why I kind of think we're in a golden age of horror, and sort of a stagnant period in horror at the same time, where we're always getting new concepts and then sort of letting them get popular and immediately running them into the ground. I'm just kind of jumping around trying to figure out where I'm supposed to go right now. Like, everything gets beaten to death pretty much instantly these days, but there's a lot of things to beat to death. And who doesn't love a good beating? I do not know where I'm going. I feel like it's gotta be something back here, right? Don't need those health kits. I don't know, I guess the gist of what I'm getting at is that it's really interesting how much we seem to cling to the past now rather than looking to the future. And again, maybe that's not new. Maybe that's just my perspective. Alright, looks like we actually do have to come across here. Looks like we're playing some Floor's Lava. Having 2 of these would be the best bet. That way we can cycle them end over end. Here. You here. Just around the corner. There we are. That was the ticket, and our Jeep has been brought forward. I think this one's called the Jalopy, charmingly enough. I remember the first time I came across that word in a Hardy Boys book and being like, what? So here's the question. Can that actually drive over it? Is it lifted enough? I guess we're switching once more. Usually when the vehicle of a vehicle segment leaves you, that's kind of it. It definitely doesn't feel like it should be protecting us. I suppose it is. There's that Valve game design. End one chase, and brake immediately onto the next one. But of course now, all we've got is an empty lot. You know what that means? Time for more music. Actually, wait, let's try one of these other ones. You know what? I'll take a risk. I tried to avoid the ones that list another artist in these things, but I think we did play most of them during the other one, and it wasn't a copyright issue. Once again, never met a tunnel that wasn't collapsed. Every once in a while, I'll just see that out of the corner of my eye and think moonlight. Then I remember the moon is still up there, kind of trapped behind those dense clouds. After an event like this, I do wonder what Earth looks like from space. I'm not quite sure why this particular track feels so familiar. Have I heard it elsewhere? I like it. It's kind of jazzy, kind of... I don't know. Some of these give you a bit of a respite from the gloominess of the rest. And oddly enough, they both fit. I guess it goes to show that you can attach just about any emotion to any imagery. This doesn't have to be creepy if you don't feel that way. It can easily be comfy, and the two things are more interlinked than a lot of people think. It's kind of like my entire channel is dedicated to sort of drawing that link. Wait, let's get it back. Well, there's cave-ins, and then there's whatever this is. The White Forest Inn. I think I could use a place to sleep. I really appreciate Episode 2 expanding on what was arguably one of the more interesting parts of Half-Life 2. Taking that long drive, still dedicated to keeping us in character over long distances, but giving us a road trip buddy, sadly absent for this one, putting us in a much more interesting environment with more to do along the way. Yeah, can you put 10 gallons on number 2? The light on in the window was a little creepy for a second. Could only have been creepier if I had seen someone standing back. You know, these games already had the G-Man watching us from the distance. He could about give you a heart attack in a context like this. Can bring you down and see what lies up here. Oh, there's always stuff to be found. Even if we have nothing to do with it, it's fun to look. I can only imagine there would be a stash right up here, right? Yep. Oh. No, it's probably about dropping down into there, right? Wait, is there any way we can actually get in there? Was there a vent cover or something? I do not see one. These things can't be moved. No, I'm not picking up what you're putting down. I don't get it. Oh no, but there is a vent back there. Huh. So up there was all a wild goose chase. There we are. Come on. And what does all this get us? Well, absolutely nothing. And in fact, because we're exploring, we never had anything to gain. But it's still fun to look around. I mean, of course, you know me. I love a long drive, especially at night. But I guess Valve does this to break it up for those who aren't as enthusiastic and are more here for the combat, puzzles, and what have you. It doesn't matter, though, because we know that the inn is right down around this corner. I saw it when I went on my little G-Man hunt. What do you say we check in? This is not a parking lot. Can't get in the front doors. Nor the basement. It's not just a lone inn in the middle of the woods, it's a whole street. This place looks really familiar. Really familiar. And I can't quite understand why. Oh my god, I get it. I used this once in a video. Okay, so there was a series that I wanted to do. It ended up being way too work intensive for me to keep a regular schedule. But there was a series I wanted to start a few years ago where I would, in Gary's mod, like animate people's dreams or creepy experiences or what have you. And I actually did one of them on a map. It was called like GM Abandoned or something like that. I realize now the building that I used was just this copy pasted into that map. Of course, it was looking a lot darker and worse for wear. But yeah, this very structure stood in for the place where somebody thought they saw a ghost. And with the lights out, can you blame them? What were they called? Hunters, I think? Yeah. I believe this was the part in the game where they introduced the mini striders. Oh, those things were deadly, but a lot of fun to fight. Flashlight back up. Again, these are all much more vague memories, because I have not played the episodes nearly as much as base Half-Life 2. Okay. You've just given me license to let my intrusive thoughts win. Tally-ho! Yeah! Perfect landing. You know, and that there was no damage to me or the vehicle. Oof. This thing's got a lot of power behind it, even to begin with. Excuse me, I was trying to weigh up whether I should take the lower path or the upper path. I didn't realize that the upper path becomes the lower path. Let me guess. Collapsed tunnel? How did I know? So here's the thing. I don't drive in real life. I don't necessarily think I would be a very good driver. I'm thinking about maybe going for it soon, just like for ease of use. But I've always loved being a passenger. Especially at night. Because it really is just like a cradle of freedom, isn't it? Because on the road at night, watching things go by, there's like a trance state to it, isn't there? And when you do it in a video game, it's completely safe. If you start to nod off, well, there's no consequences. You know, with no music, barely able to hear the wind or anything over the engine. It just sounds like a creature roaring after me. We need something. Oh god. Oh god, there's no inputs while that's on. Oh no. No. After getting spooked by not realizing the music had stopped and the engine was loud, we need something creepier. Looks like we're on our own again. Here we are. This must be White Forest. Bunkers built for a war that never came, and useless against the one that did. But I guess they found a new purpose in the end. And that's letting us explore them. Structures like this, I think, are some of the creepiest to come upon in the woods. They're all over Europe, especially like old World War II and Cold War structures. But like, think about it, they're places that at one time you would get maybe shot, at the very least captured and interrogated if you came upon them. But now there's no one to stop you from just wandering around. There's something that's always really struck me about wandering in what would have at one time been a restricted area. Still, it's all actually very well lit. It actually does sort of feel like coming home. And keep in mind, we have been on our feet, or on our back in a pile of rubble, pretty much ever since we were dropped into that train station in the very beginning. In fact, you could probably pretty seamlessly glue this video onto the end of the last one. Look, we've got a courtyard in just the perfect spot to watch the mess we've created. I can't believe where that is where we were at the beginning of this video. I mean, I'm actually kind of shocked at how quickly, looking at the record time, we've come through both of these episodes, now near the end of episode 2. And yet, it feels like such a long time ago. And I say that for a lot of videos, how it feels like it's been such a long time since the beginning of all of this. But that's just how it is, man. Do you ever have one of those days where it just goes on and major events just keep happening, and all throughout the day, you keep looking back at things that happened earlier and thinking, I can't believe I haven't slept between now and then. Sooner or later, it becomes recursive. You start thinking back to other times during the day when you had that thought and think, that was so long ago and I still haven't slept. Gordon could really use sleep, is what I'm saying. We came all this way just to play with the hula girl. Let's see how much of this lunch sequence will actually play out. Egad, it's actually doing it. You know, from the perspective of no other characters, Gordon just kind of seems like a nutjob who's going around destroying all of the Earth's systems in the absence of anyone. You know, in the absence of anyone else, Gordon just kind of seems like a nutjob who's going around destroying all of Earth's systems with no one there. Well, I hope that's not going anywhere important. Can we watch it from here? Look at that. For a moment, it looks like we've torn a hole in reality, but instead, we've just torn a hole in the gloom that's covered the Earth. What we're seeing is just the sunlight peeking through. It's like we began at night. We got to see daylight only briefly before plunging the world into an endless night. And now we've restored it. The question is, what now? We saved the day for no one. A cutscene?
Dr. Freeman.
What's wrong? But are you okay?
In the end, we heard the voice of Alex on a helicopter flying over the snow. Now, wasn't the original plan for Half-Life 3 or Episode 3 going to involve, like, finding this ship that was, like, trapped in ice somewhere or in the Arctic? And if so, we could almost interpret that to be, like, a nightmare that Gordon is having on the flight on the way to the next stage of the journey. It's like we're reaching the moment where Eli Vance would have died, and it's like we're snapped back to reality by the horror of realizing what's supposed to happen here. And it only disturbs us more that it isn't. That would actually map really well onto my earlier observation, how this whole thing feels like it has the nagging feeling that it's leading to some horrible truth that we already know about but can't bring ourselves to acknowledge. And in the end, that's sort of what it was. Of course, there are two different endings we can choose from, and I'm gonna try and get the other one right now. It seems to have done the exact same thing again. I can't get it to play the other ending. Yeah, I set it to mod ending 2. So that was Half-Life 2 Alone. And now that I played the episodes, what I realize is that taking the same fundamental change to the experience and applying it to the episodes actually did feel different. And in a lot of ways, I wasn't as interested for a lot of the time. I was kind of more struggling for things to talk about, mainly because they are a lot more linear. At least up until we get the car in episode 2. I mean, maybe that's partly just me because I tend to like that foresty environment a lot more than being in corridors, but when we have that freedom of the road, when we get that time to think and just sort of drift, that's the thing. I think when we're in a vehicle, it puts us into that sort of hypnotic state where we're moving, we're watching the environment go by, but our thoughts are our own. We don't have to worry too much about what's specifically happening in front of us. Which is probably not something you want to hear your driver say, but whatever, it's a video game. I'm going to say the same thing I said about the first, though. What this is spooky. It's eerie, not a horror mod. It feels like you've done something wrong. It feels like a bad dream, where you know something's off, but you can't quite place what it is. Maybe I wouldn't even say that. Maybe I wouldn't say it's like a dream. Maybe it's like when you wake up from a dream and you kind of feel like you've missed the message. That's certainly what it seemed like for Gordon at the end there, and there's a lot of ways to interpret that, because on the one hand, we know what happens when he gets to that room in Half-Life 2 Episode 2. But at the same time, he is ending right at that helicopter. Now, what we see is him reaching there and his movements reversing, going back through all of this. But I almost interpreted it the first time as like him having a little freak out, like frantically looking around, like he's, after drifting through all of this, suddenly realizing who he is and where he is, and that panic just hitting him all at once. In the end, I'm really glad I played through and got to see the ending, even if I can't get it to show the other one, because it adds something to the experience without overshadowing it, because a lot of people are just coming here, I think, out of curiosity to see, like, ooh, Half-Life 2, but it's empty and nighttime, that'll be spooky, and of course it is. But for it to reach a conclusion, I think makes it feel more complete. I think if we had gotten that far and not had it do something to contextualize the experience, well, the ride still would have been just as good, but it would have kind of felt like it was missing something. With the way it was done, it's there, but it is as disorienting as waking up from a nightmare. And after finishing this, I was more desperate for context than ever. I actually just tabbed out and had a look at the comments for the first video. And some of what you guys were saying is that it almost feels like a dream had by Gordon, of course replaying the events of what he's been through, but in a world where Earth was completely drained of its resources, of its people. In other words, a world where Gordon let everyone down and wasn't able to save anything. So it only makes sense that this would all come to a head in the place where that loss was most personal. Oddly enough, by giving us the environment completely absent of the characters and story, this might be the best way we can really feel the weight of everything that's been lost in this universe. But let's not just look at this from the perspective of Half-Life and its story, because it really says a lot more about Gordon and his character, about what he's afraid of, about what keeps him up, or rather, what he can't stop seeing every time he actually gets a moment of sleep. I've been saying this entire time that he's gonna need that rest because he's been doing all of this continuously. Well, maybe he actively tries to avoid rest for just this reason. In the end, though, like most things creepy and comfy, it really is, in a lot of ways, going to be in the eye of the beholder. Whether this thing feels more creepy and dreadful and like there's some unspoken truth sitting on your shoulders the entire time, or whether it's more of a feeling of freedom, of being able to walk these streets and take things in at your own pace and just enjoy the quiet. I do definitely think that my own commentary has helped keep me sane through all of this, but, well, let me know what you think about it and what you felt at various points. Because it is so subjective, and, well, your guys' perspective gives me perspective, so if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more creepy and comfy content. If you have any ideas for other videos you think I should do, the best place to suggest that will be at the Discord, which I will link in the description. If you want to try this mod out for yourself, that link will also be in the description. If you want to support me on Patreon, that link will be in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next one.